So, boys and girls, during our last iTunes U, we talked about how important it is when you begin a research project, especially with a team, to know everyone else's roles, to know who's going to do what, when, and how. So, I definitely want to show you how I begin this process. And what I'd like is for you to take notes in your eSpark notebook. I think that's going to be our best method. Um, about what you see me doing, and then I'll have you compare that to the anchor chart that I make, um, just so you can make sure you have everything down. So I have my bucket of books here, and I'm just going to sort through and do what I would normally do if I'm going to start a research project. So you watch and take some notes so that we can compare that with the anchor chart to make sure you've got the steps down that are important when you're starting a research project. So I've got this book, World Disasters Drought. Drought is the topic that I'm going to be researching, so this looks like probably a pretty good book for me. But before I just sit down and start reading this, I guess I could go, oh wait, it's time to read? Awesome, I'll just sit back and, oh wait, no. It's not that kind of reading, is it? No. So I need to, instead of just sit down and start reading at the first page of the first book I pick up, I need to sort through them. So this is one option. I've got this Nature Detective Weather, Experiment with Weather, and I think experiment with, I might get some information, but it's probably not exactly what I'm looking for. I'm going to set that aside for right now. And then Weather Watch, Rain Causes and Effects. So drought is the lack of rain. So there might be something in here, but I'm guessing not maybe quite as much. So I'll put that back here. The Super Science Book of Weather kind of looks easier with the drawings on the front, so that might be a good place to start if it's got a bunch on drought. I'll check that out. And then Extreme 3D Wild Weather. This just looks really interesting to me, so I know I want to look through this one and see if there's something that I can use to learn about drought. So that's the beginning step. So I thought the Super Science Book of Weather looked pretty easy. So I'm going to take a look through it and see what I can find out about drought. So of course I go to the table of contents in here on drought, but let me check the glossary in the back to be sure, because that is always a good place, or the index, I could look there too. The index says, oh, there are 2 pages on drought, 28 and 29, so I think I'll look to see what they have to say here. And it's in the Changing the Weather section. They're going to tell me something about drought, so I'm going to look here and see what I can find. Notice again, I'm not just reading from the first page, right? Drought right here. Oh, kind of like the cause of drought. That's what I'm finding a little bit of there. Yeah. And maybe it's also talking a little bit about how droughts maybe are measured. Seems like there's a little bit of that in here. Okay, so that's interesting. Again, I'm looking right now, I'm not reading everything, I'm just trying to figure out what are my subtopics going to be? What big things might I be studying when I'm trying to sort through the materials that I have? Okay, so here's what I have as far as notes go from what I was just talking about. How did you do? If you didn't get all of this in your notes, you probably want to update your notes a bit. Notice I did leave myself some room under the subtopics, because I know that when you start looking through your materials with your group, you're going to come up with a few more really important subtopics. And make sure you jot those down in your notes, because we are going to share them at some point, hopefully today. So we want you to include those on your notes so you'll be able to share. So one last thing. Notice that I've added now some sticky notes with the names of the people who are going to research the particular subtopic. You're going to want to do that same kind of work, and then as you add more subtopics while you're looking through yours, add the name or names. You could have 2 people studying one particular thing if you wanted to,